Hello, my name is Justin Rempel, and welcome to this video about making good sentences. So in part one, we're really going to focus on how to make a sentence, what are the parts, what do we need to make sure that we have everything, and what is not a sentence. So to figure out if we have a sentence or not, we need to be looking for three main components. And I like to use the acronym CAP, like a hat, a baseball cap, to remember these three parts, because those three letters, CAP, spell out the three main parts that we need to see in every sentence. And they help us remember the order of things as well. So part one that we need in every single sentence is we need to have a capital letter at the start. That C in CAP stands for capital letter. Every sentence needs to begin with a capital letter. This keeps our writing organized. It shows us where one sentence begins. We know where we are. Part two, the A in CAP stands for all of an idea. This is the most difficult concept to grasp, but the words need to form a complete idea. If we only have part of an idea, it's not a full sentence. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means. Part number three, the P in CAP stands for period, and this comes at the end of every sentence. We have to have that punctuation mark, the dot that we call a period. It shows us where the sentence ends. It keeps our writing organized, and we know where to take a bit of a pause or a breath before our next sentence begins. All right, CAP, capital letter, all of an idea, period. Those are the three main parts. So as I mentioned, the second component, the complete idea, is the trickiest part for most people to remember and to grasp. To have a complete idea in a sentence, we need to have at least two parts. We need to have a noun, which is like our topic. Our sentence needs to be about something. We might think of that as the subject or the thing. Okay, what is our sentence talking about? If I just say climbs a wall, okay, we don't have a subject. We don't know what is doing the climbing. It could be anything. It could be me, it could be you, it could be a person, it could be an animal, right? We need to know what the topic of our sentence is. Part number two is the verb. This is the action, what the thing is doing. So if I just say to you, the tree, that's not a full sentence. A tree is a thing. What is it doing? Trees do many things, right? They grow, they flutter their leaves in the wind, they give us shade, they tower up tall over top of us. Trees could be doing a whole bunch of different things. What is this tree doing? We need to have the verb or the action to make it a full thought. So here's a good example. The sun shines. This is a very simple sentence. But it's got our noun, the sun, and it's got the verb, the action, the thing that it's doing, shines. Both pieces, full sentence. Also note, we have a capital T at the start, we have a period at the end. So we've got all three components of CAP to make a good sentence. Object. Sometimes a subject and a verb are not enough. The sun shines is a very simple sentence. Often our sentences have a little bit more going on, and often that comes in the form of an object. So this happens when the verb is describing something that is happening to something else. We call that something else, the extra part, the object. So for example, if I said to you, the boy kicked, well, this does not quite make sense. Kicked does not make sense on its own. We need to know what the boy kicked. He kicked something. Did he kick another person? Did he kick a fence post or a tree out of frustration? In this case, the boy kicked the ball. Now that makes sense. We know exactly what the boy is kicking. It's a ball. The ball is the object, that extra part that helps the action make sense. A clause. A clause is a group of words with a subject or a topic and a verb, an action word, or a preposition. And I'll get to what a preposition is in just a second. An independent clause makes sense by itself. It can stand on its own, and it's a sentence. So, for example, the sun shines has everything it needs to be its own sentence. It's got a subject, it's got a verb, it doesn't need any object, it doesn't need any extra clauses. You can add extra if you want, but it doesn't have to have them. A dependent clause does not make sense by itself. It needs to be attached to a sentence. So, for example, the clause high in the sky is a phrase, a group of words, and it doesn't make sense by itself. Even though we have a noun, we have a thing in the clause, the sky, we don't know what is high in the sky. So we need to attach this to a different sentence for it to make sense. Sentences will add in clauses at the start, they'll add them at the end, and sometimes they even add them in the middle. Often they're separated from the rest of the sentence by commas, but not necessarily. So here's an example. The sun shines high in the sky. We've added this prepositional clause to describe where the sun is. It's high up in the sky. What do I mean when I say preposition? They're little connecting words that join clauses. Often they're little direction words. Some really good examples of clauses are these tiny words of, to, from, in, on, at, about, beside. They show where something is. Incomplete sentences, we also call them fragments. They're only part of a full sentence. It does not have both parts. So for example, the sun. The sun is not a full sentence. That's just a topic or a noun. What is the sun doing? We don't know. So if you see this mark on some of your work, your teacher has said incomplete sentence or fragment. That means you need more information added on to make it a complete idea. Shines brightly in the sky. What is shining? We can guess, but we don't know. This is not a full sentence. So the correct sentence is the whole idea together. The sun shines brightly in the sky. Another example, when I was younger. Okay, this is a dependent clause, right? It has a topic, it has a verb, but we don't know what it's talking about. When I was younger, what? What happened at that time? Another example, used to play outside a lot. Okay, playing, we have a place, that's a noun, outside, we have some verbs, playing, but it doesn't make sense. We don't know what you're describing or what you're talking about. A sentence should make sense all by itself. That's what makes it a complete idea. So a correct sentence, if we combine these two dependent clauses together, we get a full picture, a complete idea. When I was younger, I used to play outside a lot. That's a full sentence. Run-on sentences. Run-on sentences are sentences that go on for too long. They combine multiple sentences into one, and it makes the ideas unclear and difficult to follow. It stops making sense. Here's an example. The boy ran up to the top of the hill, then he climbed a tree and he fell out of the tree, which broke his arm. It goes and goes and goes. It's a whole bunch of clauses together, and you start to lose track of what's happening. We want our writing to be clear, which means we need our sentences split up into short, simple, clear, focused ideas. The easy way to fix run-on sentences is to split them up into smaller sentences using periods and capital letters. So here's our example. The boy ran up to the top of the hill, period. Then he climbed a tree, period. He fell out of the tree, period. The fall broke his arm, period. We split one sentence up into four. It's much clearer and easier to follow. It makes a lot of sense. And that's the goal with our writing, is always clear communication.